This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed Business News, Australia's best business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, our weekend show is all about the two of us, each nominating what we think is the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable business story, the sleeper story, and then our favourite story. The favourite story is often not businessy, is it? It's kind of business adjacent. I mean, last week you talked about penguins for about 20 minutes.
It was interesting. Now, what is Adam doing?
I'm going to reveal myself in a moment.
You know, that's really something that would get us an explicit rating for our podcast.
That's right. I was going to say, I got an unusual advent calendar this year that had something similar to that, but it wasn't quite like that.
Oh, hello. Now, I should actually introduce Adam.
One of those dads groups.
Now, I'll introduce Adam because he's itching to reveal himself. We need an adjudicator every week because this is a competition after all. And so we are joined by our judge, our esteemed Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, reveal yourself.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Sean.
God, that was worth the wait.
I was expecting you to be nude or something. There you were, just
puff of smoke.
Oh, golly.
You were hoping he was going to be nude.
Oh, goodness. Look, shall we jump straight into it? Because the year is kind of coming to an end. It's winding down, but there's still plenty of business news around. There's been some big stories this week, and I think that I have the biggest this week. But I'm going to let you go first, Sean.
Okay, so we're not allowed to do economics. We know that. We established that well and truly last week. I had so many complaints during the week about me doing economics, so no economics. Biggest story of the week, interest rates, especially US interest rates. The Federal Reserve made its intention known. Rates in the world's biggest economy are unlikely to rise and probably will fall next year. Now, that set the cat amongst the pigeons. Where's that come from, the cat amongst the pigeons? Don't know. Anyway, set the cat amongst the pigeons.
I've never seen a cat go for pigeons. Surely it would be more like set the cat amongst the lorikeets or something. That's what our cat always seems to chase. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, no, we're more of a mouse sort of possums, yeah. Anyway, it really did set the cat amongst the lorikeets. We had equity markets rallying with the local ASX 200 hitting a 5-month high. All of us with superannuation funds, woohoo! All of us. Hear that, Adam? All of us with superannuation funds. We had the dollar pushing 67 US cents. We had bond yields falling, which means people think interest rates will drop. The rate cycle in the US has been going on for the best part of 2 years, and finally there is some relief in sight. What's it all mean for Australia, apart from the fact that equity markets rallied and the Aussie dollar appreciated against the greenback? Well, the local economy is around 6 months behind the US economy, and so if that holds true, then maybe this time next year we'll be talking about lower interest rates. The reason for all this, of course, is inflation, not perhaps conquered yet, but certainly the trajectory is looking good. Central banks want to cut inflation, but not put economies into a death spiral, so they'll want to give a bit more oomph when they can. So, massive week in financial markets on the back of what the US Federal Reserve said. Michael, okay. What's your non-economic story?
I actually don't know where to start with my rage right now. It feels like you've just baited me into this. You know what I want to do right now?
Why?
I want to go back to the tape from last week when we had this big discussion about doing the economy as your biggest story. And you know what you said to me last week? And you said it on the podcast and everybody heard it. So it is a permanent record. And you said, you know what, Michael, next week there's going to be some big stories in the economy and you can have it for your biggest story. And so what did I do? I have taken you at your word, and then you have just gone in, you have swooped in like a magpie, and you have just taken it as your biggest story.
Or a lorikeet.
As a particularly ferocious lorikeet. This is...
Sorry, no, but mine isn't economics. Mine's markets. Big difference.
Bull plop. We're receiving is that a warning? Is that a
yellow card, Michael?
We just had a warning. Was that?
Get on with it.
Is it a yellow card? I'm not very good with colour.
It's a yellow card, but I don't know whether it's for you or me. It's for
me. This is...
You haven't even started on your story. You're just objecting. Let's go.
This is bull plop. as Michael put it. Let's go.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Once again, you've stolen what I was going to say. No, but Adam, just quickly, you do remember that last week I was promised the economy.
A second yellow card is getting close.
On we go. Come on.
God, the collusion between the two of you, it is sickening. Anyway, the unemployment rate. God, now it's just like, oh, okay, I've got a little economy story. Oh, the unemployment rate in Australia has really got me riled up. Now, you have, Sean. Don't yawn at me. This is disgraceful. The unemployment rate in Australia, just calming myself down, has hit a 17-month high. Even as the number of jobs in the economy. See, both of you just look bored by me now. Sean, I'm really angry.
But you look bored by the story. You look bored by the story.
I'm not bored by the story because it's fascinating because this, and I just love it. It's one of those kind of quirks that you see this, you see the number of jobs in the economy absolutely soaring last month. The unemployment rate, though, still went up. It went up to 3.9%, even though there was a 61,000 jump in jobs, including 57,000 full-time jobs. See, I'm getting excited now, Sean, because these are exciting numbers. And as we learnt this week, I mean, I'm always learning from Fear and Greed.
57,000 full-times. Wow.
Where's that yellow card, Adam? Like these interjections, I stayed silent during Sean's absolute kind of monstrosity of an omnibus story, and he's not staying. You just don't care. You just don't care about me, do you, Adam? Don't tell me to move on. Jesus. Sorry. Getting fired up here. The unemployment rate obviously can rise at the same time as the number of new jobs because there's been both high population growth and jobs growth in recent months. Now, very exciting, very interesting to learn. The number of unemployed people is up 81,000 over the past year. At the same time, we learned that last month the participation rate hit a record 67.2%. Now, why does this matter? I realise that you're just there wanting me to get to the point, get to the significance, get to the importance.
You got to bring it home, Michael. You got to bring it home.
Well, because there is a number of reasons why this. I know that, Sean, you combined a whole lot of things into the story. I'm going just one single point here. The unemployment rate, because it really, really matters. Clearly, the jobs market is cooling a little, and that is good news for interest rates, taking a little bit of heat out, putting a little bit less pressure on the RBA to continue hiking rates. It's also probably good news, Adam, write this down, for businesses who've been dealing with labour shortages and have found it increasingly tough just to open the doors. And I think we've all probably seen kind of shops that say, look, I'm not opening on Sundays because I just can't find the staff. I'm having to cut down the hours just because I can't find the staff. Or all of a sudden you go to your cafe or something, they're actually closed unexpectedly because there was just too many people sick and they haven't got enough people on the roster. They can't actually fill these gaps. So we might see some of that pressure on Australian businesses, the backbone of the Australian economy, easing. Now, watch carefully as I resist the temptation right now to wrap this all into one big omnibus on the economy, because Sean's already done that. He's already taken everything else and he's put it into one story. I'm just leaving it as one single data point. That's all. Unemployment is heading up. Done. There you go. Had a pretty good effect on markets as well, but I'm not going to mention any of that. I really need to draw your attention to Sean's blatant kind of disregard for the rules and what he said to me last week. Adam, discipline him. Give him a red card. Do you even have a red card with you?
I might just get on with the judging.
Excellent option.
And Sean, do you remember the Phillips curve?
Yes. The Phillips curve. That's like macro 101 or something like that.
Trade-off between interest rates, inflation, unemployment. Yes.
God, it's exciting stuff.
So I actually see these two stories as so intertwined. We have interest rates in the US hopefully being on pause towards going south. We have unemployment still at really incredibly low levels, but softening a bit. Both of these suggest that we might actually pull through post-COVID with a soft landing. So I'm actually going to give you to equal on this one. It's a dead heat. So on the boards right now, you are even.
Half. That's an exciting game, isn't it?
I don't think either of us are happy with this. I wanted to see him kicked out of the competition.
It's probably good judging when no one's happy.
Yeah, that's actually quite good. Well, I must take this opportunity to mention that last week, if you recall, and look, I'm trying to keep things tight this week. I know I haven't got off to the best start, but I'm trying to keep things a little bit shorter. But last week I said, Adam, perhaps a little unfairly, that I was questioning a few of your decisions that you made, and that I suggested that maybe we needed
last week.
I suggested that maybe we needed a tribunal, somewhere where I could appeal your decisions. And I suggested that there were 4 guest judges that we've used on this program that have made themselves available to us in the past, including Stephen Koukoulis,
the alumni,
Tim Burrows, Sherelle Murphy, Jennifer Duke, and that they could be basically the Court of Appeal. Anyway, 2 of those 4 judges reviewed last week's show, and it was somewhat unanimous.
It was somewhat unanimous. Go on.
Do go on, Michael.
That
we read them too.
I can't even change this now. That maybe I lost, and that Adam was right, and that Sean was right. God, that hurt to say.
You sound like Fonzie. Yeah, Fonzie. I was wrong. Maybe I lost.
Anyway, long story short, we have a tribunal now. I don't like the tribunal because they rule against me. So I'm hoping that
getting a new tribunal for next week.
No, I'm sure that they'll help me out this time, because they will take issue with the treatment of me in that first story. Let's move on to the most remarkable story. I'm going first on this one because I'm all about the pace this week. Keep it moving, keep things going. The most remarkable story this week is the seismic shift in Australia's migration strategy.
Like it.
I know, isn't it? Hey, just quickly, Adam, economic importance is a criteria you're judging us on today, and timeliness and something else?
Well, yes. Topicality, subjective bias, and melodrama.
Okay, cool.
Economic impact is, of course, the foundation.
Okay, got it. Okay, so look, as I mentioned, seismic shift. It is that big, the shift in Australia's migration strategy. Now, it is hard, Adam, to find a part of the economy not impacted by our migration intake. Employment, tick. House prices, tick. Lots of others, tick.
Lots of others.
There are 2.
What I'm loving about this is, as you're going, house prices, you got your hand in the air and you're going, big tick. Lots of others,
tick.
Big tick. Which is not great for a medium that's actually audio. But however, we'll move on.
The insight.
But that's why I actually said the word tick as well, Sean.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
Goodness me. Okay. Honestly, there are too many to list. I'm all about brevity today, so I'm not going to list all of the parts of the economy that the migration intake affects. But suffice to say,
Can you imagine what a new listener, first time he's listened or she's listened to they've listened to the weekend show, and they get Michael going, it's all about brevity. They're like, oh my God, what must the other shows be like?
Is it really?
Horrendous.
They go back and listen.
Is this the brief version?
They instantly regret their life choices. Look, anyway, as part of the government's new 10-year migration strategy, the seismic shift, the annual intake will be halved from its record high of last financial year. We had net migration last year of 510,000 people. That's a lot. That is a lot of people. It's going to come down.
Is that the remarkable part of this story? Last year's numbers?
No, it's not, Sean.
That we've known about?
No.
Okay. I'm waiting to get the remarkable part.
I'm waiting for that yellow card to come out. Okay. Now, when everyone's finished interrupting me, and Sean, you deserve a yellow card for these interruptions, but I don't have it. It's up to Adam, and he's not doing his job. Tribunal. Look, the migration intake is going to come down from that 510,000 peak of last year to 250,000 in 2025. And now this new strategy is absolutely key to that, because without it, the intake would have remained elevated. It is going to impact a lot of businesses, in particular because there is a new visa, the Skills in Demand visa, to replace the existing temporary skill shortage visa. And there are 3 pathways to the 4-year visa, all about brevity, so I'm not going to go into all of the detail. It all focuses very much on identifying specialist skills, core skills, and essential skills, designed, funnily enough, to help fill the skills gap in Australia. Already, though, that is proving to be a little bit of a minefield. The decision to ban kind of certain highly paid tradies from accessing the fastest pathway into the country is ruffling a few feathers, which I reckon that would be a really tough job, trying to decide exactly which kind of jobs are going to fit into each category. Anyway, the new pathways are apparently going to add billions to the budget's bottom line.
Would that be a highly skilled job that you'd actually get someone to come in to work out which people should be coming in?
Yes.
It's a highly skilled jobs.
I think that'd have to be on that first visa. Yeah. So you get paid $200,000 to work out who can come in and out of Australia.
Like podcast hosts.
That's a skill.
For example.
Imagine that.
Podcast hosts. I mean, there's only about 300,000 of those in Australia?
Everyone with a mobile phone can be a podcast host.
Anyway.
Yes, very good.
That's right.
Very good. And all of them are...
Don't start a podcast in COVID. We did.
Yep. And every single one of them is more concise and brief than I am. Shall I continue? I'm nearly done because this is a short story today. I just wanted to emphasize just how wide-ranging these changes are, because it also affects international students who'll have to pass a stronger English language test, do more to prove they're genuine students. And again, Adam, that focus on skills is there because it's going to be harder for them to stay if they don't find jobs that help our skills shortage. So there you go. A remarkable... there's that word, piece of policy work by the government, one that won't please everybody. No policy ever does, but at least it identifies the problem, our skills shortage, and has a solid crack at fixing it using a seismic shift in our migration strategy. I'm done.
Whew, that's a little bit political.
In 28 seconds?
Yeah, something like that. That's a bit political. Like, we never support either side of politics, and you've come out saying it's a remarkable job by the government. Interesting.
No, I think any kind of major piece of policy work is remarkable because it's actually a government doing something.
That's true.
That's
true. No, I'll give you
Don't
that.
you think? Any kind of action is better than inaction.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, as you said it, the employment market tick, house prices tick, lots of other parts of the economy. That's true. My most remarkable story, though, affects all the economy, every single bit of it, because it is the economy, the Australian economy, and the fact that we're likely to get another surplus this financial year. The Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook released this week by Treasurer Jim Chalmers shows we're on track for a $1.1 billion deficit, much better than the $14 billion deficit forecast in May. Now, $1.1 billion, no government in their right mind would allow that. They'll cook something up to get a surplus, almost guaranteed. Chalmers said the government isn't forecasting a second successive surplus, but then he kind of smiled and said, it is within striking distance. It is quite remarkable, given the COVID spending, that the books are balanced once again. Why? Well, on the revenue side, there are big jumps in income taxes. That's because more people have jobs. Big jump in mining taxes, thanks to the high price of iron ore. Combined, that's about $18 billion this financial year. That's about $60 billion or more than $60 billion over the next 4 years. There's also more money from hiking up passport fees, taxing of foreign real estate purchases. Love the one here, Michael. This was one of your favourites. Businesses will also no longer be able to tax deduct the interest charged on overdue debt to the Australian Tax Office. I think that makes sense. On the savings side, there's a windfall of nearly $10 billion, mostly because they've pushed stuff out. Now, MyEFO predicts the inflation rate will fall to 2.75% next year. We're going to get growth of 1.75%. Notwithstanding COVID, higher interest rates, cost of living crisis, energy prices, including petrol, slumping consumer sentiment, etc., etc. We have a budget surplus and an economy that is still growing close to 2%. It actually is truly remarkable. This is sort of the Goldilocks landing, which Adam referred to when judging that previous criteria. Just like to add, frown off the face, Michael. Be happy, spark up, man. Adam, over to you.
All righty. Both very good. Sean, I think it's stunning that we are basically having a boom time in resources with very high prices, incredibly low unemployment, and we are still scrapping to get close to a surplus. Just shows you how much budget repair needs to happen, right? There's not enough being done. Second, Michael, I think this has to win. for most remarkable story of the week, because we have really got a productivity problem in this country, and productivity will help fix the problem that we have inherent in our budget. So I am seeing this as the solution to where we need to go, get a lot more productive with a lot more skills, a lot more working age people to support what we need to do in the country. So I'm just giving it to you for remarkable story of the week.
So let me just wrap up that judgment there. So I'll wrapping it up. So it's the idea that Australia is cutting migration from 500,000 to 250,000, not letting more people in, versus an absolute Goldilocks landing. So that's more remarkable.
No, I think it's as part of the Goldilocks landing. The fact that we've had 510 already, that's staggering.
As part, so a subset of it.
It's a lot.
That didn't happen this week, though. 1.5 to half, you win.
Michael's nudged ahead.
There we go. And doesn't your argument?
I think what we've proven here today, and it's important, is just how arbitrary the judging is. And Judge Koukoulas, Judge Burrows, Judge Murphy, Judge Duke, if you're listening out there, well, you're never going to back me, let's face it. You're always going to back Michael because he's a bit of a suck. But and he's actually a nicer person too, so you tend to go that way. However,
I think we're learning what great sports the contestants always are. Week in, week out.
Righto, I think we need to go for a break, Michael. Cooler heads.
No, I didn't want to go for a break. I just wanted to see how deep this hole you could dig for yourself was. I'm just like, you know what? Sean's doing so much damage to himself right now. Just let him go. Never interrupt your, Never interrupt your competition when they're making a mistake or something like that. Anyway, I agree though. 1.5 to half. It seems like a very good point to take a break. We'll come back with a sleeper story in a moment. All right, we are looking for a sleeper story of the week. A sleeper story is perhaps a story that is not getting the attention that we feel it deserves, or is going to be a bigger story further down the track. At some point in the future, it is going to be the big story. That's obviously where I'm heading with mine. That's why I'm emphasizing this point a little bit. But Sean, you go first.
Well, this was a very big story this week, but the flow-on effect from it is where the sleeper part comes into it. I reckon we learnt this week that the face of pharmacies in Australia is going to change and the big supermarkets will be delighted. What's prompted that view is the deal between Chemist Warehouse Group and Sigma Healthcare to merge and create a near $9 billion company listed on the ASX. It brings together wholesaling and retailing of pharmaceuticals. Now, the new company will be big, about the same size as Endeavour Group or Treasury Wine Estates. Assuming it gets regulatory approval, it'll be around the 60th largest company on the bourse. The really important thing I just said there was assuming it gets regulatory approval. There has been all sorts of fights for decades, mostly from the Pharmacy Guild v government, about who has the rights to dispense medicines. And the Pharmacy Guild has always kept it within the pharmacies. We've had Woolies and Coles pushing really hard to get into that industry and have struggled big time. In the US, so you go to a major supermarket, you get your medicines as well. To get ACCC approval, I reckon that Chemist Warehouse and Sigma are going to have to do some sort of deal with the government. Maybe it's to offload some retail pharmacies, because I think there's going to be not that far off 1,000 pharmacies between the two organisations. But I think that the pharmacy sector, i.e. the Guild, is going to be under enormous pressure to open up the market, potentially to Woolies and Coles, and that would be totally game-changing. Australian chemists would be much more like the US. Now, the long-mooted merger, it'll be one of the biggest deals of the year. Chemist Warehouse makes up about 70% of its sales from front-of-shop items, sunscreen, toothbrush, stuff like that. Most pharmacies only make up about 30% from that and 70% from medicines. It's the other way around at Chemist Warehouse. For this to get through, though, they're going to have to give something. And so, for me, big deal, but the sleeper part of it is what it could mean for that sector, which has been a closed shop for decades and decades and decades. Apologies for being so worthy about this, but cracking sleeper story. I genuinely think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out over the next few years. Michael, don't give me that look. Look at it, that sneer, that like, oh.
No, it's not as. I'm sorry, my genuine face is actually very close to my cynical face. There's not much difference between the two, it seems. That was a really good story. I have nothing to criticize about that, and I don't mean to kind of. I'm certainly not conceding anything here, but it's just a very good story. Look, for me, there is another good, an excellent sleeper story, and the thing is, it doesn't just affect one industry. This affects basically every business in Australia, and it is, in fact, the outlook for next year. The fact that 2024 is not going to be a good year for many businesses. Now, we've had a little bit of a glimpse into the corporate crystal ball this week, with forecasts from Creditor Watch suggesting that we are in for a flood of company failures next year. The impact of all those rate rises, sticky inflation, which I don't think I'll ever get used to describing inflation as sticky. It just feels a little bit,
Icky?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought there would be a lot more support for me in this, but you two are both just looking at me going, you're such a child. No? Okay, moving on. Anyway.
I'm just waiting for the comment about migration or something like that. I'm just waiting for the migration levels to come into the story. Go on.
Oh, my God. I gave you genuine support and praise for your story. You know what? Look what I found. Look what I found here. It's a yellow card. I found my own. And I've just given one to.
I love the way that's been torn out of a book or something.
Yeah.
The ruffled edges.
You saw me disappear out of the studio before while you were talking, and the look on your face when I disappeared.
Maeve, you don't need that colouring in book.
No, look, there we go. S. Aylmer. I've written on the back, yellow card. Anyway, can contestants give their own yellow cards? Anyway, I've done it now. It's on the record.
You can. It just has no impact.
Well, there's one for A. Lang as well. There you go. You've both got a yellow card. Yeah, I've had it up to here with the two of you.
Share that love around.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, look, pullback in consumer spending combined with that, the inflation, obviously, that I mentioned, and all those rate rises, it is taking its toll as a combined effect. Creditor Watch is predicting an increase in the insolvency rate from 4.18% to 5.8% by the middle of the year. Now, that is above pre-pandemic levels and probably not reassuring news for those businesses in trouble, hoping that things do improve, hoping to trade their way out of things. At the same time, we've got ratings agency Fitch warning that lending markets are deteriorating. Arrears are now exceeding pre-COVID levels. Even NAB as well, tracking a worsening of trade conditions. So I can only say, watch this space, because the coming months will be crunch time for plenty of businesses, many of whom may have, as I've mentioned, been hopeful of trading out of what is a tough patch, but it just seems like it's getting worse. But with high interest rates expected to stick around for at least another kind of 6 months, at least based on the earliest kind of estimates, and low consumer confidence, we'd better brace for a lot of companies, a lot of businesses to be going under, a spike in bad loans, definitely a sleeper story, not a particularly optimistic sleeper story, but it is one to watch, because it is going to be a big story in 2024 affecting the entire Australian business community and the economy, probably the whole world. Yes, what can I say? And also then you've got this seismic shift in migration policy as well.
There's seismic stuff. Yeah, you're right. Not to mention the unemployment stuff going on. That's big too.
Oh, God, yeah. Magnitude 12. Okay, Adam.
When Sean began with his story, I actually drew breath and I thought, he's going to be impossible to beat. And he was. Sean wins this one by a bit of a margin, actually. Great story, Sean. Absolutely brilliant, because this has been a battle for decades and customers, I think, are affected by this.
Great delivery on the answer there. I've got to tell you, great delivery.
Great. I think this is going to have really big impact. I think it is a sleeper story. Great call. Yeah, Michael, it is absolutely significant, the debt challenge, particularly for small and medium-sized enterprises, but it has been coming for a while. We've seen it forecast through tax debts building in recent weeks, and so this is an incremental element of that story, I think Sean has to win this one.
It feels as though your delivery of your judgment was actually aiming to wound then. It felt as though it was, I've done nothing but be nice today.
Unintended consequence, but did it work? Just out of curiosity.
It did. It is a deep wound. It's I am. Look, I'm going to go.
Are you wounded?
I'm going to go straight. Sorry, that wasn't me getting emotional just then. I needed to just clear my throat. But I'm going to move straight on to favourite story because at the moment it is 1.5 to 1.5. God, could this get any closer? No, it could not. I will answer my own question.
I've got to tell you too.
Favourite story.
Very close on the points if it comes down to it.
Ooh, okay. Well, it won't because I'm about to win. Elon Musk. One of our favourite topics, our favourite individuals here at Fear and Greed. He's had a big week.
He's back.
A big week for Elon. Hasn't been a particularly good week for Elon because it emerged that revenue at X, formerly known as Twitter, of course, has tumbled since the billionaire bought it. Now, the platform's on track to bring in about $2.5 billion in.
I love the way you say tumbled.
I'd put a lot of feeling into it.
Tumbled.
Yeah, it's a bit of melodrama. Sean, you take every opportunity you can just to inject a bit of life into the delivery, and I can provide you some notes if you wish. I'm still smarting. You really hurt my feelings today, the pair of you. It's just, oh, God. I thought we were in for a really kind of...
You can rise up, Michael.
Oh, I have. I'm bringing this home.
Come back.
Okay. The platform X, formerly Twitter, now no interruptions please, is on track to bring in about $2.5 billion in advertising revenue in 2023. Now, X generated a little more than $600 million in ad revenue in each of the first 3 quarters of the year, the same as expected in the current quarter too. That compares to more than $1 billion per quarter in 2022. Now, there has been something of an exodus of advertisers, an exodus from X.
Nice.
I'm pretty proud of myself. Just thought of that then. Ever since Elon bought it for $44 billion US, they are they're not happy, advertisers, with the changes that he made and the slightly erratic way that the platform has been run, particularly in the early days when it seems like there were these seismic shifts in policy just made on the fly. And there was a survey run this time last year that found 65% of marketers said Twitter had become risky for their brand, largely because of concerns over verification and over content moderation. You fast forward now 12 months, I don't think those concerns have lessened at all. In fact, just 3 weeks ago, we had Elon Musk telling advertisers who are pulling their spend that they could go and F themselves. Which is exactly kind of what you want someone to say when they're trying to reassure people that it is a brand safe environment, isn't it? Why would brands want to put themselves in the firing line? Anyway, just to cap off Elon's bad week, there's the news that Tesla will recall and fix more than 2 million vehicles. It's the brand's biggest recall ever, and it's all because the autopilot system doesn't do enough to guard against misuse. It's the second recall this year involving their automated driving system. I just think that is remarkable. Anyway, well, it's just a bit of an Elon rap today. It's a bit of a Musk rap. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
A Musk rap.
I'm keeping one eye on the clock, and I realised that we went a little overtime early in the show through no fault of anyone in particular, and I'm going to take it upon myself to wrap things up earlier today. So therefore, over to you, Sean.
Well, I'll make it quick. Favourite story of the week, possibly the favourite story of the year for me. The whole new world of financial planning that is about to emerge because the federal government has finally decided to do something about the fact that most people can't afford advice. At Fear and Greed, we are forever saying, go and get some professional advice before making investment decisions. And we truly believe that. But for many, it's just not affordable. In fact, it's about $3,500 a year to go. That's the average cost of financial advice. We've also had thousands of planners leaving the profession. What it means is that people aren't getting financial advice. The government knows it. They undertook the Quality Advice Review, and it has recommended, which the government wants to adopt, winding back a bunch of the reforms that came post the Hayne Royal Commission into the financial services sector. Under the new rules outlined this week, a new class of advisors requiring fewer qualifications than current professionals will be introduced. The laws will also lead to the removal of extensive red tape, effectively reopening advice to financial institutions, i.e., banks and insurers. Now, most people who got financial advice at low cost were more likely to do it. Well, not most people. They were more likely to do it via a bank rather than a professional financial advisor who, has a business and set up their own shingle. So what the government has done this week is say we are going to wind back some of those regulations and more Australians will get financial advice. Has to be my favourite story of the week. Has to be. Adam.
Okay. Michael, Starlink. I think you missed an element of the Musk story, which is the valuation of Starlink in lieu of giving staff shares. And Starlink, as part of what Musk is achieving, is actually pretty spectacular. So there was one element in there I thought you could have brought in. But I think, again, Sean has to win this one.
Adam, before you go on, before you give an answer, you should have read between the lines because that's exactly what Michael was actually saying without saying it. Like if you read between the lines about the stuff he was going on about, he was talking about Starlink as well. So I want to correct you there.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Like read between the lines in the sky. I missed it. Yeah. Sorry. Well done, Michael, on bringing that in too in such a subtle way. Sean wins. The financial planning is such a critical part of what we need. Everyone needs financial security.
Handy.
And this has taken so long to review. And so I think it is also my favourite story of the week, even more than Elon Musk. So, Sean, well done.
You know what? Without actually asking the tribunal to review this decision, I'm hoping that they take it upon themselves to review this decision. I'm not going to appeal it. I'm just going to say, hey, guys, maybe you want to check it out and just let us know. And look, a tribunal, if you want to overturn the decision, I will be in support of that. If you want a full-on coup, I'm also in support of that. But look, Sean, what's that? What's the score then? It's 2.5, isn't it? To 1.5. You know what? We don't even need to know the points, but tell us anyway.
2.5 to 1.5. Sean wins. 91 to Sean, 89 to Michael.
Oh.
There was 1 point in it into the last round.
I'm actually okay with that. That's pretty close.
Yeah, quality battle.
Do you know what I love about Adams? Yeah, Adam, sometimes you're judging, like that last one, you said Sean wins. Like it was by far my favourite story, yet I only got 1 point more than Michael actually got when it came to the score sheet.
Oh, no, look, that is true. That is the nature of the high-quality battle. And, Michael, had Starlink been perhaps less oblique,
that's it.
Might have actually got that fraction closer. Room for improvement.
I know that this is an audio medium, but I am very clearly displaying the yellow card to Adam right now. I know it's got limited value now because the show's over. But just it goes on your permanent record.
It's better than the 2 fingers I sometimes get.
2? Oh, 1 from each of us. Yeah.
The non-verbal feedback. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Good result. Well done, Sean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
And thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Michael.
Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, X and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson and that was Fear and Greed Business News. Have a great weekend.